Happy Monday, everyone. Welcome to the Northern Kentucky Spotlight podcast powered by C-Crew Consulting. I'm your host, Sarah Brookbank. Today on the podcast, we are joined by Kim Dubé of ReFlex Recruiting Flexibility. She shares hiring advice for small business owners. We are also joined by Dawn Parks of NKU's Biz Access Hub, who shares how you can learn the skills you need to help your business grow with their boot camps and masterclasses. Thank you to our podcast sponsors, C-Crew, Google and Amazon advertising experts, and Schneller Knockelman. We invite you to join us on Tuesday, July 15th for Eggs and Issues Driving Growth through Northern Kentucky's food and beverage scene. Our panelists will share their perspectives on why they continue to grow in the region, the current state of the industry, and what the future holds. You can register and learn more about this event at nkychamber.com/events. Now let's go meet our members of the week, hear from our sponsors, and I'll be back with this week's guests.
Ranking on Google Search and Maps is easy to understand, but hard to do. It requires constant effort and attention, uploading new photos, responding to Google reviews, writing weekly posts, and checking suggested updates. Google listing optimization takes experience and time, and there are no shortcuts. C-Crew gives your Google My Business account the steady, consistent attention it needs to be effective, optimizing, updating, and expanding critical content every single week. From local retail stores to large regional networks, C-Crew generates content, establishes benchmarks, and creates dramatic, measurable increases in engagement. So what can C-Crew do for your business? More calls, more clicks, more clients.
Congratulations to our members of the week. You can learn more about these businesses by following the Northern Kentucky Chamber on social media, where we'll highlight one of these businesses each day. Now, let's meet our members of the week. Family Care Counseling Solutions is a premier outpatient behavioral health provider in Covington, offering wraparound services for individuals and families. Nestled just a 2-minute stroll from the picturesque riverfront, Hampton Inn & Suites Newport, Cincinnati offers stunning views of the water and downtown Cincinnati skyline. Formed in 2012, Run Switch PR offers a full suite of communication services, from public relations counseling to crisis management planning and execution. Cincinnati's Ronald McDonald House offers a community of compassion, support, and the comforts of home to families with critically ill children steps away from the medical care they need. Hi, everyone. Today on the podcast, I am joined by Kim Dubé, founder and CEO of ReFlex Recruiting Flexibility. Kim, welcome back to the podcast.
Thank you.
It's exciting to have you on. You were on with Nancy, kind of talking workforce a couple of months ago, but we want to give a brief overview of your organization and what's going on in the hiring space right now. So tell us a little bit about ReFlex.
So at ReFlex, we specialize in non-executive recruiting. Mm-hmm. So we work with small to medium-sized businesses offering flexible solutions that ebb and flow with the seasonalities that a lot of small and medium-sized businesses experience. So we're there as a partner when we're needed, and then we have flexible options so that folks aren't paying when they don't need recruiting support.
Yeah, that flexibility really important, like you said, because sometimes that ebbs and flows. So tell us a little bit about when somebody approaches you about working with you, what are those solutions you offer? Tell us about those flexible options.
Yeah, absolutely. So we do non-executive search, as I mentioned. There's lots of really great firms in town that do executive recruiting. So that's a specialized, I think, piece of recruiting. So we really work on a lot of salaried or skilled trade roles for small to medium-sized business owners. So when they approach us, typically we have a very simplistic contract that we sign, and we do hourly recruiting. So we bill on the hour, we produce quantifiable reports for our clients every week, and it's really a lever that they pull when they need to. So we don't have any monthly retainers, minimum spend. We don't have any notice periods, things like that. We're truly meant to be a faucet that can be turned on and off. Because it's hard. When you're a small business, you're already running lean. And so when you're down a person, it's very taxing on the team. Yeah. And so it's nice to just be able to pick up the phone and know that somebody's got it handled, and that small business owner or that one person HR shop or whatever doesn't need to spend the amount of time on finding the perfect talent. We're there to do it for them. And then the contract ends when they fill the role.
Yeah, that makes it really easy to get in touch with you guys and work with you, I'm sure. Especially like you said, hiring and the market and things are constantly changing. I listen into Nancy's interviews all the time and I'm like, I don't understand what any of this means. So tell us a little bit about those current market conditions and what you're seeing and what's changed recently.
Yeah, so there's a lot of influx in the market, right? We're hearing a lot about tariffs. We're hearing a lot about, right, workforce, Gen Z, what they're looking for in the workforce. But the biggest thing I'm seeing today, as of today,
Yes.
is return to office. So we're seeing a lot of really, really large companies bringing people back into the office 5 days a week. So think Fortune 100, which is really giving us a nice opportunity for our clients to target some of those companies to recruit out of them. Because what we're finding is a lot of employees are willing to be more flexible on the salary piece to be able to go somewhere that can offer a hybrid schedule or a partially remote schedule. So that's been that biggest shift, is that really that push to return to the office full time, but employees bucking and saying no, I want to stay hybrid or remote, and so it's creating a really, really interesting dynamic in the market right now.
Yeah. And are you seeing that locally or is that nationally?
I'm seeing it nationally. So
Okay.
I'm seeing it locally and nationally. So we have a lot of clients in the West Coast that we do work with. Same thing out there. Or large companies mandating that employees relocate to their corporate headquarters
Yeah.
to be able to retain employment, or they're letting them stay in their job, but they're not eligible for promotion if they don't move. So a lot of people that were hired remotely, now the company is saying we're headquartered in city XYZ, and if you don't move here, you can stay employed remote, but you won't be eligible for promotion. So it's causing those folks to take a look in the local market and see what's available.
Yeah, that is definitely something that is shifting. I know we see that conversation nationally, so it's interesting to know it is impacting us here in this local market as well.
Mm-hmm.
And I think one of the questions that I wonder about is, one, for businesses that are looking to hire people like that, they're trying to like get the jump and like, oh, well, maybe somebody in my market is going to stay. Like, how do you approach those people, and what kind of advice do you have for businesses in this market trying to like tap into that?
Yeah, absolutely. The first one is don't be afraid, right? Don't assume that you can't afford an employee from company, large company, whatever, right? Because odds are that person might be wanting to work for a smaller company, or they're tired of wearing that singular hat working for that large organization. The other thing is it's always helpful to have a really crystal clear understanding of what you're looking for out of that person, right? I think sometimes we're like, I don't know what I'm looking for, but I'll know it when I see it, right? So really understanding from a cultural fit standpoint, as well as a skill-based hiring, not just focusing on experience, but what is the employee or the potential employee capable of doing? So their skills, what could they do for you? Having a little bit of that open mind in terms of what they bring to the table, but also clarity on the type of employee that does well in your environment, I think is a recipe for success for a small business owner trying to hire.
Yeah, I think that's really important. And another question about like for employers. So as you are working with this pool of the workforce, right? What kind of things do you think employers need to be thinking about when it comes to those hybrid mandates and those return to office mandates? What do you think they should be thinking about when they're planning those from the perspective of hiring?
Yeah, so I think again, it's if you are a small to medium sized company that has people on site, is that for your comfort? Does it truly relate to the success of your business? And if so, how, right? So I think being flexible when you're able to, people can understand being on site when there's a good reason for it, right? Or what level of flexibility can you give, right? We want you on site, but if you have a doctor's appointment, feel free to go, or something like that. I think where we see employees get frustrated with return to office mandates, or at least what I see in the market with who myself and my team talks to, is I just go to the office to sit on calls the way I would at home. So being very intentional, one client actually comes to mind. They're a construction company. They want everyone in their office early because their crews go out early in the morning.
Yeah.
And so having the office staff there really helps create a culture of we're all in it together, right? And so that's understandable for people. So when we're talking to potential candidates, we can sell, even though that's part of who they are. We can explain and speak to that and sell it as a plus.
Yeah.
Versus just, we're going to return to the office because this is just what we want to do, right? So having that intentionality behind it is really kind of making sure that it's not a drawback from a recruiting standpoint.
Yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense. And I think you hear that a lot in that national conversation when people are like, oh, well, my boss wants me to come to work and just sit at my desk and drink bad coffee when I could be sitting at my own desk with like my ergonomic chair and drinking a good cup of coffee.
Exactly. And I'm talking to people through my computer because everybody's all over the country.
Yeah.
Whereas with our construction client that I mentioned, that's actually a huge positive for them because it creates that camaraderie and the crews get to know each other and the office staff gets to know the crews. And so it builds trust. So that makes sense, right? Yeah. But now they let some people leave at like 3:30 or 4 because maybe they have to get their kids off the bus or whatever the case may be. So they try to be flexible where they can. But it's a very, very intentional, this is why we're in the office.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And as you're seeing those changes happen right now, do you have any like forecasted trends? Do you think there's anything else on the horizon that people need to know about hiring in the job market as we look forward into the year? I know there's instability everywhere.
Yeah, absolutely. I think maybe not necessarily for the rest of the year, but I would say in the near future, right? When you look at research on Gen Z and what they're looking for, the last of our baby boomers should retire within the next 5 years or so. So that's going to be a major shift in the market. Gen Z is, generally speaking, really focused on multiple income streams, right? Flexibility, things like that. So you're going to see them really start to favor consulting work or contract work or project work where they can have a little bit of control over other things that they can do.
Yeah.
So I think when you're thinking about traditional full-time employees or full-time hires, what could be a part-time role? What could be a contract role? What could be outsourcing, like what we do, right? Versus hiring a full-time recruiter, let's say, that may not be needed all the time, right? So I would encourage small to medium-sized business owners to start thinking in those terms because it's going to open up a whole new workforce pool that they may not have had access to before. We just talked about baby boomers. I suspect a lot of those folks are going to want to come back to work in some capacity, right?
Yeah.
But maybe not full time. So how can you capture that knowledge that they can help train your other employees on? So really thinking about flexibility in terms of what your workforce looks like beyond the traditional 40-hour-a-week full-time employee.
Yeah, so that it's just shifting. It's always shifting.
Yeah.
And it's good to know that you guys are really tapped into that. And Kim, so for people that want to learn more about ReFlex, want to learn more about you, how do they get in contact with you?
Absolutely. They can go to reflexrecruiting.com or connect with me on LinkedIn, or my email's listed on our website. Shoot me an email. Always happy to connect with people, have conversations, or answer questions, right? If a small business owner isn't maybe necessarily ready to hire right now, just had some questions, I'm always here as a resource for them.
Okay, well, great. And then Kim, before I let you go, anything else you think our viewers and listeners need to know about you or about your business?
I don't think so. I think that's everything. Just no, we're here to flex with the seasonality, right? The business is these days. The last 5 years has had unprecedented change in the workplace, and we're here to flex with companies as they scale up or scale down or have seasonality or expansion plans. So that's about it. Our average recruiter has 10 years of experience. So we're really knowledgeable in terms of different parts of how a business operates, how it all fits together. And we're really here to be talent advisors for our clients.
Yeah. Well, great. Well, Kim, thank you again so much for coming on the podcast today.
Thank you for having me.
Hi, everyone. Today I am joined by Dawn Parks, the director of NKU's Biz Access Hub. Dawn, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you. I'm really excited to be here today.
I am so excited to have you. NKU was recently one of our Business Impact Award finalists, specifically the Biz Access Hub.
Yes.
And you guys are doing such great work in the community. For people that don't know about you, jump right in. Tell us a little bit about what the Biz Access Hub does.
Sure. So the Biz Access Hub, we've been around for about 35 years. In the College of Business, Yale College of Business, doing working with small businesses. But we realized that a few years ago that we needed to kind of reinvent ourselves because there's a lot of great consultants that are out there and they need to do their job. But what can we do to support small businesses? And as I was trying to figure out what would be next, I saw all this stuff with regards to AI. And I go to all these great, you guys put on great shows, right?
Yeah.
All these good panelists and these really smart people. And I'd walk away with some really good ideas, but I'd still say, what? Like, where do I start? And I went to panel after panel and meeting after meeting and thought, okay, I guess I have to build this. And so I went to some places and found some of these really smart people that have been on the panels, and they helped me build the Biz Access Hub, which is really designed to provide, small businesses all these great tools. How do they leverage AI in this world that's transforming business?
Yeah, and you guys have so much experience. Like you said, you guys have trained hundreds of people, hundreds of organizations, and you're learning different things. So what have you learned that made you guys kind of pivot to that AI model?
Well, I think it wasn't that it was the AI part of it.
Mm-hmm.
So this is where what I noticed is that we weren't organized as NKU to be able to do the kind of consulting that we had hoped. So I needed another model. So I think the bigger idea is when I would work with people, they're always trying to find people to help them. There's never enough employees. They're busy, doing stuff that's repetitious or not. It's got to be done, but it's being done all during the day, so that doing the creative things and the new things, the design things, were having to be done at night or on the weekends when they wanted to take time off or be with their kids or go to a baseball game, right, or a football game. And so that's when I realized that these kinds of tools could be really valuable for freeing people up, because if you ever talk to a small business owner, they're really burnt out.
Yeah.
Right? They can never take any time off. And I want everybody to take a vacation.
You can do better work if you're getting vacations.
I know.
So you guys are doing these AI boot camps. What are businesses walking away with? Tell us how these work.
So the boot camp is actually a hands-on immersion experience. There's a lot of great programs out there at Lunch and Learns or online where someone's showing you a screen and then you're trying to figure out what they did. They're all great. Mm-hmm. But we realize that, especially for some people, if you're really in a www.what mode, some business owners don't spend a lot of time on their computers. Some are deep in the computers. So you come to the boot camp, it's 8 hours of really intensively learning about 7 tools. You work with a coach. There's a coach at every table. So if you get lost or you're far behind or you're not sure if this is working out right, there's somebody right there to hold your hand to help you through the process. So then what you're walking away with is tangible tools that you can actually start to implement the moment you get back to the office, right?
And that's vital. Like you said, there are so many different things, and AI is so clever. It can do a lot of things for you, but if you don't know where to start, it's overwhelming. So you guys are giving a lot of different businesses some really great opportunities, and I love that. And one of the things you mentioned is you're kind of bridging a digital divide for certain types of business owners, certain types of people in our community. Tell us a little bit about that.
So I think that a lot of times you get so busy doing the thing that you love to do, and then you get focused on the wrong things, perhaps, to grow your business. So everybody thinks, I got to do more social media, or I've got to do more of this, or I have to have a website that's perfect, or I hate QuickBooks, so I don't know. I'm going to ignore those things. Well, what if something like ChatGPT or Perplexity or Claude could become truly an assistant, right? Truly an assistant where you could say, I don't know how to work on QuickBooks. Can you please give me some ideas on how to find these things and put them up into my QuickBooks system? Tell me how to, have my bank's account, interface with QuickBooks. I need some social media posts that look like X, and tell me, how do I put them up on Facebook in a timely manner? You just talk back and forth and say, well, I don't like that one so much, or I like this one, or please make 10 more like this. Can you give me a content calendar? And we can interact with it like it's a person in our office. And that relieves so much stress and pressure. I even know of a couple of people, and it's such a brilliant idea. There's this thing called a custom GPT where it only does a certain thing. And they are using it to support them as leaders. So they've put in, some of my gurus are Tony Robbins and people like that. And you put those people's names and some of their work into this custom GPT. And then if you're having a leadership issue or a question or how should I handle it, you ask it into this custom one and you'll get a response that'll be like what Tony Robbins might tell you.
Yeah.
Or what Mel Robbins might tell you. It's so brilliant. that people can actually get a lot more done.
Yeah, and like you said, it's that getting more done. It's helping people have more time to do the creative things and grow their businesses. Right. You hear these stories about people, $1 billion business solopreneurs.
Yes.
Tell us a little bit about that.
Sure. So the guy who created OpenAI, ChatGPT, says there's going to be, in the not too distant future, I don't know when, there will be a person who will create $1 billion revenue company that is a solopreneur, like no other humans.
Crazy.
Now try to imagine that. Yeah, $1 billion in revenue with no other humans. So that means it's a lot of AI, a lot of automation, and a lot of tools that are working together. So that's not even just your administrative side, but it's their product. It's how the distribution, it's their supply chain, all without another human being. So I don't know if that guy or gal is in our neighborhood. It would be great.
Yeah.
But probably not. And what if we could take that concept and move it back toward a small business? How do we build these AI automation models and systems so that they could produce an extra $1 million in revenue? Wow.
Yeah, now we're talking.
So that's really what's driving me at this point in time. I really want our small businesses, there are so many, to be able to be highly productive, make all the money that they possibly can, and have a good time in this world.
Yeah, I think that's such a great look at it, because when you think about AI, there are so many different things that you can do with it. But really for our small and medium-sized businesses, it really is the bottom line. How can you make an impact on your day-to-day operations, and how can you grow? Mm-hmm. So you guys are doing a lot of different things. You guys are also launching a membership. So tell us about how this membership can help small businesses and our medium-sized businesses.
Oh, I'm so excited about the membership. So what happens is, you've been through classes, right? You go to a class, and then now what do I do with it, right? So sometimes you're able to incorporate things right away. With ChatGPT, most people, we're finding they're already starting to use it, so they can add more to it. But how do you really go deep on things like that?
Yeah.
And you don't always want to go to another class. So what if we had in this membership package extra tools, new ways to think, new ways of going into ChatGPT or these other tools, new ways to do marketing, new forms or templates that you could use to support your business. And then you have access to accountability calls, or we'll have like a guest expert every month come on to do a roundtable so that you can stay in the learning and advancing stage for $19.99 a month, right? It's like $5 a week to have a coach in your pocket to keep this stuff alive.
Yeah, that's such a great opportunity. So for people who are looking to learn more about how to access these services, where do they go? What do they search? What do they need to know?
Sure. It's Biz Access Hub. So BIZACCESS Hub.com. And we list all the various courses. So we have the boot camps, we have master classes where we go deeper on certain topics based on your role. And then we're launching a certification program where you get a certificate from NKU.
Oh, wow.
Of competency with regard to ethics and how do you use the various tools so that you can be a champion when you go back to work.
Yeah.
So that's the place to go to learn more about us.
Yeah. Well, Dawn, that is so much information, and maybe I'll have you back on to talk about ethics, because that is a whole nutshell that we could spend a whole other podcast talking about. But it has been so wonderful to have you on to talk about this great opportunity for our member businesses. Is there anything I didn't ask, anything else you think that our members need to know about all the opportunities at Biz Access Hub?
So I think that the biggest thing is don't be afraid, right? You know, you're not going to break anything. I think it's important to understand if you should use the paid or the free version.
Yeah.
Right. But I think try it. Get in there. Your competition is working on it.
Yeah.
I promise. Your competition is working on it. Don't get left behind. We're in the flip phone version of AI right now. You want to get in on the beginning.
Yeah.
Right? Not wait until we're at the iPhone 16 stage.
Yeah, that's a really great way to put that. And Dawn, thank you so much for coming on today. It was an absolute pleasure.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Chris Knockelman with Schneller Knockelman Plumbing, Heating, and Air. It's spring now, but before you know it, our ACs are working overtime.
Dave, it's going to be warm soon.
Right now is a good time to get the AC serviced, right?
You can get your AC tuned up for only $59.
So get your $59 tune-up at
SKPHA.com. SKPHA. So if your plumbing and mechanical systems give you trouble, just remember our name. Schneller
Thank you so much for tuning in to today's episode of the NKY Spotlight podcast. I hope you enjoyed learning more about ReFlex recruiting flexibility and NKU's Biz Access Hub. Like I said, registration is now open for Eggs and Issues Driving Growth Through Northern Kentucky's food and beverage scene happening on Tuesday, July 15th. You can register for that at nkychamber.com/events and check out all the rest of our great events happening this summer. Thank you to our podcast sponsors, C. Crew Consulting, Google and Amazon advertising experts, and Schneller Knockelman. And finally, if you are a member who is interested in joining the Northern Kentucky Spotlight podcast, or you're interested in becoming a member of the Northern Kentucky Chamber of Commerce, please reach out to Lynn Ablin. And if you're a member who would like to share your workforce strategies and resources on our Talent Strategy Spotlight, please reach out to Nancy Spivey. You can find their contact information on the screen in front of you if you are a viewer, and our listeners can find that at nkychamber.com at our staff directory. Thank you all so much for tuning in. I hope you have a great rest of your week and a safe and happy holiday weekend. I will talk to you after the 4th of July.